I got a video of my teenage son tied up. The defendant you're sentencing today is innocent. You have until 4 p.m. verdict to find proof or your son dies. I am a judge. I was reviewing the sentencing guidelines when my phone buzzed. 10 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday. A normal day. I'm Judge Holden Pierce, 49 years old, Superior Court. I've been on the bench for 12 years. Today I was supposed to sentence a man named Darius Blackwell, armed robbery, murder. The jury found him guilty 3 weeks ago, 25 years to life, open and shut case, or so I thought. The text came from an unknown number. No message, just a video file. I almost ignored it. I had court in 15 minutes, but something made me click it. The video loaded. My son Everett was tied to a metal chair in a concrete room, 17 years old, high school senior. He should have been in his chemistry class. Instead he was gagged, crying, terrified. There was a clock on the wall behind him, digital, red numbers, 5 hours, 59 minutes, 47 seconds, then 46 seconds, then 45. A voice spoke, electronically distorted, impossible to identify. Judge Pierce, the man you're about to sentence today is innocent. Darius Blackwell did not kill anyone. You have until 4 p.m. when you deliver your verdict to find proof of his innocence. I couldn't breathe. If you sentence him, your son dies. If you tell anyone about this, your son dies. If you delay the sentencing, your son dies. You have 6 hours. Prove he's innocent or lose your son forever. Everett tried to scream through the gag. The video ended. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone. There was a knock on my chamber door. Judge Pierce, they're ready for you in the courtroom. My clerk, Brixton, 26 years old, law school graduate, smart kid. Loyal, I couldn't tell him. If you tell anyone, your son dies. I stood up, tried to compose myself, walked to the door. I need a 30-minute recess. Tell them I'm reviewing the sentencing guidelines. Brixton looked confused but nodded. I locked the door behind him, pulled up the case file on my computer. State versus Darius Blackwell, case number 8473. I'd read the summary. I knew the basics, but I hadn't been the trial judge. I was just doing the sentencing. Now I had to review everything. The crime happened 14 months ago. Convenience store robbery. The clerk was shot and killed. $15,000 taken from the safe. 3 eyewitnesses identified Darius Blackwell from a photo lineup. But as I read the transcripts, I noticed something. The convenience store clerk said, "I think that's him." Maybe 70% sure. The customer said, "He looks similar but it was dark." The passerby said, "That could be the guy." These weren't positive identifications. These were guesses, but the prosecutor had presented them as certainties. The forensic evidence wasn't much better. Darius's fingerprints were found on the door handle, but he'd been to that store dozens of times. He was a regular customer. His prints being there meant nothing. Gun residue was found on a jacket, but the jacket was discovered in a dumpster 3 blocks away, not on Darius. Anyone could have planted it. The security footage showed a masked shooter, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. That described thousands of men in the city, including Darius, but it didn't prove anything. I sat back in my chair. This was all circumstantial evidence. Weak circumstantial evidence. How did a jury convict on this? I checked the time on my phone. 10:45. 4 hours and 15 minutes remaining. I needed help, but I couldn't tell anyone why. I called Brixton back into my chambers. "I need you to do something for me. Pull everything on the Blackwell case. Trial transcripts, evidence logs, witness statements, everything." He hesitated. "Judge, is something wrong? Just do it fast." He left. I kept reading. Then I found it. A folder buried in the digital case file. Labeled evidence not submitted. I clicked it open. Inside was a witness statement from a woman named Nadine Carver. She claimed she was with Darius Blackwell the night of the murder. Alibi: he was at her apartment, nowhere near the convenience store. This statement had been given to the prosecutor during discovery, but it was never turned over to the defense attorney. Prosecutorial misconduct. The prosecutor's name was Lennox Crane. I recognized it. He'd been disbarred 6 months ago. Evidence tampering in a different case. If he tampered with evidence once, maybe he did it in Darius's case too. Brixton came back with printed files, stacked them on my desk. Judge, I found something weird. What? The prosecutor, Lennox Crane. He was disbarred for misconduct, and there's something else. He handed me a news article, printed from online. The headline read, Judge's daughter found dead after sentencing. I scanned the article. 8 months ago, Judge Thaddeus Morrow. His daughter was kidnapped the day he was supposed to sentence a defendant. He was told the defendant was innocent. Given 6 hours to prove it. He couldn't find proof in time. He sentenced the man as scheduled. 2 hours later, his daughter's body was found in a warehouse. Judge Morrow committed suicide 1 month later. My stomach dropped. Brixton. Search for other cases. Judges who had family members kidnapped. Deadline-related kidnappings. Cross-reference with sentencing dates. He typed frantically on his laptop. Jesus. Judge Pierce, there are 7 cases, all in the last 2 years. All judges, all given 6-hour deadlines. All their kids died. 7 judges, 7 dead children, 7 defendants who supposedly were innocent. All the judges failed to prove it in time. I was number 8. I checked my phone. 11:30. 4 hours and 30 minutes remaining. I had to find Nadine Carver. She was the only witness who could prove Darius was innocent. I tried her phone number from the case file. Disconnected. I looked up her address. The apartment building had been demolished 2 years ago. I searched DMV records. No current address on file. Nadine Carver had vanished. Brixton, I need you to find someone. Nadine Carver. She was a witness in the Blackwell case. Find any relatives, current addresses, anything. On it. He worked while I paced. My son was tied to a chair somewhere, terrified, alone. And I had 4 hours to save him by proving a man I'd never met was innocent of a crime I knew nothing about. 4 hours to do what 7 other judges had failed to do. 4 hours before Everett died. The clock was ticking, and I had no idea if I could beat it. Brixton found her at 11:45. Judge Pierce. Nadine Carver has a sister, Tamsin Carver. Lives in Riverside, 10 minutes from here. 10 minutes. I could make that. Send me the address. Judge, what's going on? You're supposed to be in court. The defendant, the victim's family, everyone's waiting. I grabbed my coat. Tell them I had an emergency, medical issue. Reschedule for this afternoon. They're going to ask questions. I don't care. Just do it. I left through the side exit. Didn't want anyone seeing me leave. The drive to Riverside took 12 minutes. Traffic was worse than expected. Every red light felt like an eternity. I checked my phone at every stop. 11:58, noon, 12:04. I pulled up to Tamsin Carver's house at 12:10. Small, single story, peeling paint, dead lawn. I knocked on the door. A woman answered. Mid-30s, tired eyes, suspicious expression. Tamsin Carver. Who's asking? My name is Holden Pierce. I'm a judge. I need to talk to you about your sister Nadine. Her face hardened. You're a judge? You people destroyed my sister's life. Get off my property. She started to close the door. I put my hand up. Please, I need to find her. It's urgent. I haven't talked to Nadine in 2 years. I don't know where she is. Please, just 5 minutes. A man's life depends on it. She stared at me, then stepped aside. 5 minutes. I followed her into a cluttered living room. She didn't offer me a seat. What do you want to know about Nadine? She was a witness in a case. Darius Blackwell, armed robbery and murder. She provided an alibi for him, but her statement was never given to the defense. The prosecutor buried it. Tamsin's jaw tightened. Of course he did. That prosecutor, Crane, he threatened her. Threatened her how? She testified at the grand jury. Told them Darius was with her when that clerk got shot. Said he couldn't have done it because he was at her apartment all night. She sat down. Lit a cigarette. Crane pulled her aside after. Told her if she testified at trial, he'd charge her as an accomplice. Said he'd make sure she went to prison for helping a murderer. So she didn't testify. She was terrified. She went into hiding, changed her name, moved to a different state. I haven't seen her since. My heart sank. Do you know where she went? Providence, Rhode Island. Changed her name to Nadine Kelso. That's all I know. I checked my phone. 12:25. 3 hours and 35 minutes remaining. Providence was a 2-hour drive. Minimum. 2 hours there. However long to find her and get her statement. 2 hours back. I couldn't make it. The math didn't work. I stood there feeling my son's life slipping away. Why are you really here? Tamsin asked. Why now? Darius was convicted over a year ago. I couldn't tell her the truth, but I was desperate. I'm sentencing him today. I found the suppressed evidence. I think he might be innocent, but I need proof. I need your sister's testimony. Well, you can't have it, even if you could find her in time. What do you mean? She looked at me with something like pity. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Nadine's dead. The room tilted. What? 3 months ago, car accident. At least that's what the police said, but I never believed it. The timing was too convenient. Right after Crane got disbarred. Right when his cases were being reviewed. My phone buzzed. Email. No sender name. Subject line blank. I opened it. The witness is already dead, but the real killer still works nearby. Find him. My hands went cold. Someone was watching me. Knew where I was. Knew what I was doing. The kidnapper. Are you okay? Tamsin asked. You look like you're going to be sick. I tried to focus. Your sister, before she died. Did she ever tell you anything else about that night? About the robbery? Just that Darius didn't do it, and that she saw the real guy. I looked up. She saw the shooter. Yeah, she told me once. Said the real shooter worked at the store. That's how he knew about the safe. How he knew when to rob it. Did she say who? Tamsin crushed out her cigarette. Some guy who was always nice to her, always working. She said everyone liked him. That's why nobody suspected him. Do you remember his name? No, sorry. It was 2 years ago. She mentioned it once and that was it. I checked my phone again. 12:35. 3 hours and 25 minutes remaining. I had a new lead. The real killer worked at the store, but I didn't have a name. Didn't have time to investigate properly. I needed help. Thank you, I told Tamsin. You might have just saved someone's life. I walked back to my car. Got in, sat there for a moment trying to think. Then I called Brixton. Judge, where are you? I need you to do something. Pull employment records for the convenience store where the murder happened. Every employee who worked there 14 months ago. Cross-reference with anyone who has a criminal record. Financial records if you can get them. Look for anyone who came into money right after the robbery. Judge, that's going to take time. And some of those records I'd need a warrant to access. I don't care. Do whatever you have to do. Hack into it if you need to. Silence on the other end. Judge Pierce, what is happening? You're asking me to break the law. I almost told him. Almost broke the kidnapper's rule right there. If you tell anyone your son dies, just trust me, please. I'll explain everything later. But right now I need you to find this person. Fast. Another pause. Then, okay, I'll do it. Give me 30 minutes. I hung up. 30 minutes. That would put me at 1:05. Less than 3 hours remaining. I sat in the car outside Tamsin's house and thought about the 7 judges who'd failed before me. They'd all been given the same deadline. 6 hours. They'd all been told their kids would die if they didn't prove innocence. And they'd all failed. 7 children dead. 7 families destroyed. Was I about to become number 8? My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello, the distorted voice. You're at the sister's house. Smart. But the witness is dead. You know this now. Who are you? What do you want? I want you to do your job. I want you to question the evidence. I want you to care about whether the man you're sentencing actually committed the crime. Darius Blackwell is your brother. Silence. Then. My brother is innocent and you're going to prove it. Or your son dies at 4 p.m. 2 hours and 53 minutes. Judge Pierce. Clock's ticking. The call ended. I checked the time. 1:07. 2 hours 53 minutes. I started the car and drove back toward the courthouse. Brixton called at 1:20. Judge, I found him. Who? The employee. Corbin Thorne, 31 years old. Worked at that convenience store for 5 years. He's got a record. Assault charge from 6 years ago. Charges were dropped. That's not enough. I need something that connects him to the murder. I'm still looking. But Judge, there's something else. Something weird. What? Corbin Thorne. He works at the courthouse now. I nearly swerved off the road. What? He's a janitor. Courthouse maintenance staff. Started 8 months ago. The killer worked in the building. Had been there for 8 months. Walking the same halls I walked. Cleaning the same courtrooms. Brixton, pull his financial records. I need to know if he came into money after the robbery. Already on it. Give me 5 more minutes. I pulled into the courthouse parking garage. Went in through the back entrance. Checked my phone. 1:35. 2 hours 25 minutes remaining. I went to my chambers, locked the door, paced. Brixton knocked 2 minutes later, came in without waiting for an answer. He looked shaken. I found it. 2 days after the murder, Corbin Thorne deposited $15,000 into his savings account. Cash deposit, $15,000. The exact amount stolen from the store safe. Where is he now? I checked the staff schedule. He's working, should be in the building. I had him. I had the real killer, but I didn't have proof, not the kind that would hold up in court, and I had 2 hours and 20 minutes to get it. I made a decision. I called Detective Granger Sullivan, 20-year veteran, homicide, good cop, honest. He answered on the third ring. Pierce, what's up? I need your help right now. It's an emergency. What kind of emergency? I took a breath, broke the rule. My son's been kidnapped. I have 2 hours to prove Darius Blackwell is innocent or Everett dies. My phone buzzed immediately. Video message. I opened it. Everett was screaming. Someone off camera was hitting him, over and over. Then the distorted voice, you called the police. That cost your son 30 minutes. New deadline is 3:30 p.m. You just lost 30 minutes of his life. Find proof in 68 minutes or he dies. The video ended. I stared at my phone in horror. Sullivan was talking. Pierce, are you there? What's happening? Get to the courthouse. Now, I'll explain when you get here. I hung up. Check the time. 1:22, 68 minutes until the new deadline. I just cut my son's remaining time in half, and I still didn't have proof. Detective Sullivan arrived at 1:30. I met him in my chambers, locked the door behind him. Talk to me, he said. What's going on? I showed him the videos, the countdown, the threats, the new deadline. He watched in silence. His face went pale. Jesus Christ, Holden. When did this start? 10 o'clock this morning. I had 6 hours. Now I have less than 2 because I called you. We need to mobilize. Get FBI involved. Trace the videos. Find your son. No, if I bring in more people, Everett dies. The kidnapper made that clear. Sullivan sat down, rubbed his face. Okay, what do you need from me? I need to find Corbin Thorne. He's here, in this building. He's a janitor on the maintenance staff. The guy who actually committed the murder. Yes, he deposited $15,000 2 days after the robbery. Exact amount stolen. He worked at the store. He knew the layout. Knew when the safe would be full. Sullivan stood up. Let's go find him. We need evidence. Real evidence. A confession or physical proof. Something that will hold up. Where's his locker? His workstation? I called Brixton. Where does Corbin Thorne keep his things? Basement level. Employee locker room. Section B. We're going down there now. I hung up, looked at Sullivan. If we find him and he runs, this is over. We can't let him get away. He won't. We took the stairs to the basement. 1:45 p.m. 1 hour and 45 minutes remaining. The basement was concrete and fluorescent lights, maintenance equipment, cleaning supplies. Narrow hallways. We found the employee locker room. Rows of metal lockers. Most were open and empty. Brixton appeared at the doorway. I pulled his locker number, 217. What are you doing here? I asked. Helping. You can't do this alone, Judge. Sullivan walked down the row, found locker 217. It had a padlock on it. He looked at me. We breaking it? Do it. He pulled out his baton, smashed the lock twice. It broke. He opened the locker. Inside was a jacket, a backpack, a pair of work boots. Sullivan pulled out the backpack, unzipped it. He froze. Holden, look at this. Inside the backpack was a revolver, cash bundled with rubber bands, and a watch. Sullivan held up the watch. This is evidence logged from the crime scene. The victim's watch. It was never recovered. How do you know? I worked this case. I remember. We never found the watch. It was listed as stolen property. He pulled out his phone, took photos of everything. The gun, the cash, the watch. This is it. This connects him directly to the murder. Brixton was standing guard at the door. Someone's coming. Footsteps in the hallway, getting closer. A man appeared, mid-30s, maintenance uniform, name tag that read Corbin. He saw us, saw his open locker, saw the backpack contents spread out on the bench. He ran. Sullivan took off after him. I followed. Corbin sprinted down the hallway toward the emergency exit. Sullivan was faster, tackled him before he reached the door. They hit the ground hard. Corbin tried to fight. Sullivan pinned him, cuffed him. Two more officers appeared. Sullivan must have called for backup before coming to my chambers. They hauled Corbin to his feet. Sullivan held up the gun. Corbin Thorne, you're under arrest for murder, armed robbery, evidence tampering. Corbin was breathing hard, eyes wild. I want a lawyer. You'll get one after you answer some questions. They took him to an empty maintenance room, sat him in a chair. Sullivan stood in front of him. I stood to the side, checked my phone. 2:15 p.m. 1 hour 15 minutes remaining. Corbin, we found the murder weapon in your locker. We found the victim's watch. We found the cash. You're done. Corbin said nothing. You worked at that store for 5 years. You knew when the safe would be full. You knew the security camera angles. You knew everything. Still nothing. Sullivan leaned closer. Darius Blackwell is about to be sentenced for your crime. An innocent man. You're going to let that happen. I'm not saying anything without a lawyer. I stepped forward. I didn't have time for this. Corbin, listen to me. I'm the judge in the Blackwell case. Right now, with the evidence we just found, you're looking at murder 1, life without parole, possibly death penalty. He looked up at me. But if you confess right now, if you tell us the truth, I can recommend a lesser charge, manslaughter, 20 years instead of life. You can do that, the prosecutor can, and I can make sure they offer it, but only if you confess. Right now, on the record. Sullivan pulled out his phone, started recording. This is your only chance, I said. Talk now or face the death penalty. Corbin was silent for a long moment. Then, I did it. I killed the clerk. I robbed the store. Why? I needed money. Gambling debts. I knew when the safe would be full. I knew the security cameras had blind spots. I wore a mask, gloves, thought I was smart. What about Darius Blackwell? I knew he came to the store all the time. Everyone knew him. After I did it, I panicked. I needed someone to take the fall. I planted his jacket in the dumpster, made sure there was gun residue on it. So he was nowhere near the store that night. No, he was innocent. I framed him. Sullivan stopped the recording. Got it. I checked my phone. 2:28 p.m. 1 hour 2 minutes remaining. We need to get to the courtroom. Now, we ran. Sullivan and 2 officers brought Corbin. Brixton ran ahead to clear the hallway, up the stairs, through the corridor, into the main courthouse. People stared as we rushed past. A judge, a detective, a handcuffed man, all running. We reached the courtroom at 2:35. The bailiff tried to stop us. Judge Pierce, what's happening? Open the doors. Emergency session. Right now. He unlocked the courtroom. We went inside. The courtroom was empty except for a few clerks. They looked confused. Get everyone back in here, I told the bailiff. Defendant, defense attorney, prosecutor, victim's family, everyone who was here this morning. Tell them sentencing is happening now. Yes, Your Honor. I went to my chambers, changed into my robe. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely tie it. Brixton appeared at the door. They're assembling now, 10 minutes. I don't have 10 minutes. They're moving as fast as they can. I sat at my desk. Tried to breathe, tried to think. 57 minutes remaining. The courtroom filled slowly. Darius Blackwell was brought in wearing prison orange, shackled, confused. His defense attorney arrived. The prosecutor. The victim's family. They all looked angry, confused, demanding answers. I took the bench at 2:53, 37 minutes remaining. This court is now in session. I apologize for the delay and the unusual circumstances. But new evidence has come to light in the case of State versus Darius Blackwell. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. We're here for sentencing, not a hearing. Sit down, counselor. You'll want to hear this. I looked at Sullivan. He stepped forward. Your Honor, approximately 1 hour ago, Detective Sullivan and I discovered evidence implicating another individual in the murder of the convenience store clerk. I held up my phone. I have a recorded confession from Corbin Thorne, a former employee of the store. In this confession, he admits to committing the murder and framing Darius Blackwell. The courtroom erupted. The victim's family was shouting. The defense attorney looked stunned. Darius was crying. I banged the gavel. Order, order in this court. The room quieted. In addition to the confession, physical evidence was recovered linking Corbin Thorne directly to the crime. The murder weapon, the stolen cash, the victim's personal effects. I looked at Darius Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell, Based on this new evidence, I am issuing an emergency stay of your sentencing. Your conviction is stayed pending immediate review by the district attorney's office. The defense attorney jumped up. Your Honor, we move for immediate dismissal. Motion granted. Mr. Blackwell, your conviction is hereby vacated. All charges are dismissed. You are free to go. The bailiff unlocked Darius's shackles. Darius collapsed to his knees, sobbing. The victim's family was screaming. The prosecutor was trying to restore order. The whole courtroom was chaos. I banged the gavel one more time. This court is adjourned. I looked at the clock on the wall. 3:28 p.m., 2 minutes remaining. I left the bench, went to my chambers, locked the door, sat down with my phone in my hand, waiting. 3:29, 3:30, the phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, the distorted voice. You did it. You proved my brother innocent with 2 minutes to spare. Where is my son? Address incoming. He's alive, unharmed. You're the first judge who succeeded, the first one who actually cared. The call ended. A text arrived. An address in the industrial district, 15 minutes away. I ran. I didn't wait for Sullivan. I grabbed my keys and ran to the parking garage. 3:32 p.m. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. The address was in the industrial district. Old warehouses. Abandoned factories. 15 minutes on a good day. I had no idea if Everett was really there. No idea if he was actually alive. No idea if the kidnapper was telling the truth, but I had to go. I pulled out of the garage doing 50 miles per hour. Sullivan called. I put him on speaker. Holden, where are you? Heading to the location. Industrial district. Warehouse on Lexington and 5th. Wait for me. Don't go in alone. I can't wait. Holden, listen to me. This could be a trap. The kidnapper could be waiting for you. I don't care. My son is there. We're 5 minutes behind you. Just wait. I hung up. Ran 2 red lights. Nearly hit a pedestrian. Didn't slow down. The city blurred past. Buildings, traffic, people. None of it mattered. Only Everett mattered. 3:38 p.m. I reached the industrial district at 3:42. The address led to an old textile warehouse. 4 stories. Broken windows. Graffiti on the walls. No cars in the lot. No signs of life. I parked and got out. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open. Everett, Everett, are you here? My voice echoed in the empty building. I went inside. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, rust and decay everywhere. Everett, nothing. I ran through the first floor, empty rooms, old machinery, darkness. Took the stairs to the second floor. More empty rooms. More nothing. Third floor, same. I was starting to panic. What if this was a lie? What if the kidnapper sent me here just to waste time? What if Everett was somewhere else? Dying while I searched an empty building. Then I heard something. A muffled sound from the back of the third floor. I ran toward it, found a door, reinforced steel, but it was open. Inside was a concrete room, small, no windows. And there was Everett, still tied to the metal chair, still gagged, but alive. His eyes went wide when he saw me. I ran to him, pulled the gag out of his mouth. He gasped for air, started crying. Dad, Dad, I thought, I know, you're okay. You're safe now. I untied the zip ties around his wrists, around his ankles. My hands were shaking so badly it took forever. Finally he was free. He collapsed into my arms. We both sank to the floor. He was sobbing. I was sobbing. I'm sorry, I kept saying. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. You saved me. You saved me. Sullivan and 2 officers burst into the room, weapons drawn. They saw us on the floor and lowered their guns. Is he hurt? Sullivan asked. I checked Everett over. Bruises on his face from where he'd been hit. His wrists were raw from the zip ties, but nothing serious. He needs a paramedic. They're on the way. Sullivan looked around the room, empty except for the chair. No other furniture, no clues. On the far wall, someone had written a message in black marker. You're the first judge who chose justice over convenience. The first who actually investigated. The first who saved both his child and an innocent man. Congratulations, Judge Pierce. Sullivan took photos of it. The kidnapper was here recently. This ink is fresh. Is he still in the building? We're sweeping it now. But I don't think so. He knew you'd come. He left before you arrived. Paramedics came in, checked Everett's vitals, blood pressure, heart rate, pupils. He's dehydrated, mild shock, some bruising. But he's going to be okay. They wrapped a blanket around him, gave him water. I sat next to him on the floor, held his hand. Sullivan crouched down beside us. Everett, I'm Detective Sullivan. Can you tell me what happened? Do you remember who took you? Everett nodded weakly. I was leaving school, walking to my car. Someone grabbed me from behind, put something over my mouth, chemical smell. I passed out. What time was this? Around 8:30 this morning. Did you see the person's face? No. When I woke up I was here, tied to that chair. He was wearing a mask, never spoke to me directly. Just recorded those videos and left. How many times did he come back? 3 times. Once to record the first video. Once after you called the police. He hit me then. And once more about an hour ago. He didn't say anything. Just checked the restraints and left. Sullivan wrote all this down. Did he say where he was going? No, nothing. He just left the door open and walked out. More officers arrived. Crime scene techs. They started processing the room. Sullivan pulled me aside. Holden, we need to talk about what happens next. What do you mean? You broke about a dozen laws today, accessing confidential files, coercing a confession, conducting an illegal search, breaking into a locker without a warrant. I saved my son, and I freed an innocent man. I know, and I'm not going to report any of it, but there will be questions. Internal affairs, the Judicial Review Board. They're going to want answers. Let them ask. I'm serious. You could lose your position, your career. I looked at Everett, wrapped in a blanket, alive, safe. I don't care, Sullivan nodded. I figured you'd say that. 4 p.m. The original deadline. If I hadn't called Sullivan, if I hadn't found Corbin, if I hadn't gotten the confession, Everett would be dead right now. The thought made me sick. We left the warehouse at 4:15. Everett rode in the ambulance. I followed in my car. They took him to County General, ran tests, IV fluids, x-rays to check for internal injuries. Everything came back normal. The doctor said he could go home that night. Sullivan came to the hospital, gave me an update. We identified the kidnapper, fingerprints from the warehouse. Quinlan Blackwell, 34 years old, Darius's older brother. Where is he now? Gone. We have alerts out. Airport, train stations, bus terminals, border crossings, but I think he's already left the country. Who is he? Former criminal justice professor, taught at the State University for 6 years, published research on wrongful convictions. Got fired 2 years ago after he publicly accused multiple judges and prosecutors of corruption. Career destroyed, reputation ruined. So he decided to get revenge. More than that, we've been investigating him for months. He's been targeting judges, kidnapping their kids, all connected to cases where he believed the defendant was innocent. How many? 7 before you. All judges given 6-hour deadlines. All failed to prove innocence. All their children died. My blood ran cold. 7 dead children. Yes, we didn't connect the cases until 3 months ago. Different jurisdictions, different states, but same pattern, same method. And I'm the first who succeeded. You're the first whose defendant was actually innocent. The other 7, we investigated after the fact. All 7 defendants were guilty. Quinlan was delusional. Saw conspiracies where there weren't any. I sat down heavily. So those 7 judges made the right call. They sentenced guilty people. Yes, but Quinlan didn't see it that way. He believed the system was corrupt, that all convictions were suspect, and he just happened to be right about Darius. Pure luck. Or maybe he finally did enough research to find a real wrongful conviction. Either way, you're the only judge who could have actually proven innocence. I thought about that. If Darius had been guilty like the others, I couldn't have found proof. Everett would have died, or I would have freed a guilty man. There was no winning. Except I did win, through pure blind luck. What happens now? I asked. We keep looking for Quinlan, put out an international warrant, hope we find him before he does this again. Will he do it again? Sullivan was quiet for a moment. I don't know, he got what he wanted. His brother is free, maybe that's enough. But I could tell he didn't believe it, and neither did I. Sullivan stayed at the hospital until midnight, gave me more details about Quinlan Blackwell while we waited for Everett's discharge papers. He was brilliant, Sullivan said, top of his class. Published dozens of papers on judicial reform, wrongful convictions, systemic bias. What happened to him? He became obsessed, started seeing corruption everywhere, accused 3 sitting judges of taking bribes, accused 5 prosecutors of evidence tampering. Most of it was baseless. Most of it, Lennox Crane was dirty. We know that now. But Quinlan accused 23 people. Only one was actually guilty, so the university fired him. Had to. He was disrupting classes, harassing colleagues. Students complained. He lost everything. His job, his reputation, his career. Sullivan pulled out his phone, showed me photos, crime scenes from the previous 7 kidnappings, different locations, different cities, but all the same setup: concrete rooms, metal chairs, zip ties, digital clocks counting down. He perfected his method over 2 years, got better at it each time, more careful, harder to trace. But he never let any of them go. No, because none of the judges could prove innocence. The defendants were all guilty. There was no proof to find. I looked at the photos. 7 different rooms, 7 dead children. What were their names? Sullivan hesitated, then told me. First victim, Judge Thaddeus Morrow's daughter, Caitlin, 14 years old. Found in a warehouse, died of dehydration after the deadline passed. Second victim, Judge Patricia Voss's son, Marcus, 16, same method, same result. He went through all 7, names, ages, how they died. All because their parents couldn't prove something that wasn't true. Quinlan sent messages after each one, Sullivan said, explaining why the judge failed, criticizing their investigation, blaming them for not caring enough. He really believed they were all innocent. Yes, he reinterpreted every piece of evidence through his conspiracy lens, convinced himself the system had failed, that judges were rubber-stamping convictions without questioning. And then he found Darius, his own brother, convicted on weak evidence. That's what pushed him over the edge, made it personal. Sullivan put his phone away. The thing is, Holden, he was right about the system being broken, just wrong about those specific cases. Except Darius. Except Darius. We sat in silence for a while. Then Sullivan said, there's something else you should know. We found Quinlan's research, files on his computer. He'd been investigating Lennox Crane for over a year. How did he know about Nadine's alibi? Crane's disbarment case. Discovery documents were public record. Quinlan found references to suppressed evidence in multiple cases, including Darius's. That's how he knew. So his method was sound, just applied to the wrong cases before. Exactly. And now that he's succeeded once, he's validated. In his mind, this proves his theory, proves judges need to be forced to care. That thought chilled me. You think he'll do it again? I think he believes he's on a mission, saving innocent people by terrorizing judges. And he just proved it works. Everett was discharged at 12:30 a.m. I drove him home. He was quiet the whole way, staring out the window. When we got to the house, he went straight to his room. I followed him. Everett, we should talk. Not tonight, Dad. I just want to sleep. Okay, I'll be right downstairs if you need anything. He nodded, closed the door. I went to my own room, sat on the bed, didn't sleep. Just kept thinking about the 7 judges before me. They'd all faced the same choice, the same deadline, the same impossible situation, and they'd all failed, not because they didn't care, not because they didn't try, but because their defendants were actually guilty. I succeeded because Darius was innocent, because Corbin was stupid enough to keep evidence, because he happened to work in my building. Pure luck. If any one detail had been different, Everett would be dead. That knowledge sat in my chest like a stone. Sullivan called the next morning. Quinlan's gone. No trace. Credit cards inactive. Phone off. No border crossings under his name. He planned this, had an escape route ready. Yeah, we'll keep looking. But between you and me, he's probably already in South America or Southeast Asia. Somewhere without extradition. So he gets away with it, for now, but we'll find him eventually. These guys always make a mistake. I wasn't so sure. Quinlan had been planning this for 2 years. He was smart, careful, motivated. He wasn't going to make mistakes. And somewhere in my gut, I knew this wasn't over. He'd succeeded, freed his brother, proved his theory. Why would he stop now? There were hundreds of wrongful convictions, hundreds of judges who might be next, and I was the proof that his method worked. That thought kept me awake for the next 6 months. 6 months passed. Everett went to therapy twice a week. Doctor said it was PTSD, nightmares, panic attacks. Couldn't be alone for more than an hour without calling me. He graduated high school in June. Barely. Missed 2 months of classes after the kidnapping. His friends stopped coming around. They didn't know what to say to him. Didn't know how to act. He deferred his college acceptance. Said he wasn't ready to leave home yet. I didn't push him. In August, he enrolled at the community college, criminal justice program. I asked him why. I want to understand it, he said. Why it happened. How the system failed. I want to make sure other kids don't go through what I did. He was turning his trauma into purpose. I was proud of him and heartbroken for him. Darius Blackwell was exonerated in April, full dismissal, record expunged. He sued the city, the prosecutor's office, Lennox Crane personally, settled for $1.2 million. He used the money to start a foundation, helping exonerated prisoners find work, housing, education. I met with him twice, helped him get connected with employers who'd give him a chance despite his arrest record. He was grateful, said I saved his life. I told him his brother saved his life. I just got lucky. Corbin Thorne took a plea deal in July. The prosecutor offered manslaughter instead of murder 18 years instead of life. He pled guilty, said he was sorry. The victim's family spat at him in court. I didn't attend the hearing. Couldn't face them. They'd waited over a year for justice. Then I'd taken it away from them in a matter of hours. Even though Corbin was the real killer, even though Darius was innocent, they still blamed me. Lennox Crane was captured in Mexico in September, extradited back, charged with accessory to kidnapping, evidence tampering, obstruction of justice, 34 separate counts across 23 cases. His trial was scheduled for next year. Prosecutors were seeking life without parole. I was listed as a witness, would have to testify about the suppressed evidence, about Nadine's alibi. I wasn't looking forward to it. Quinlan Blackwell was never found. Interpol issued a red notice. FBI opened an international manhunt, but there was no trace of him, no credit card activity, no border crossings, no sightings. He'd vanished completely. Sullivan called every few weeks with updates, which meant no updates. We're still looking, he'd say. We'll find him. But I could hear the doubt in his voice. Then the calls started. First one came in October. Unknown number. International prefix. I answered, the distorted voice. Congratulations on 6 months, Judge Pierce. You and Everett are still alive. Darius is free. The system worked because you made it work. My hand tightened on the phone. Quinlan, I wanted you to know I'm not done. There are hundreds of wrongful convictions out there. Hundreds of judges who rubber stamp cases without questioning. You proved my method works. Your method killed 7 children. Their judges killed them. By not caring enough, by not investigating. You cared, you investigated. That's why Everett is alive. Turn yourself in. I can't. This is bigger than me, bigger than Darius. The system is broken. Someone has to fix it. Not like this. Not by terrorizing families. How else? Peaceful protest didn't work. Publishing papers didn't work. Exposing corruption didn't work. But you know what did work? Giving you 6 hours and a deadline. Suddenly you cared. Suddenly you investigated. His voice was calm, rational, absolutely convinced he was right. You're insane, I said. Maybe, but Darius is free, and you're a better judge now. You question everything, review every case, fight for justice. Tell me that's not worth something. I didn't have an answer. He hung up. I immediately called Sullivan, told him about the call. We're tracing it. Keep him talking if he calls again. He said he's planning another one. Another kidnapping. We know, we're monitoring high-profile cases, warning judges, but we can't protect everyone. How many more kids have to die? Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. As many as it takes to catch him. I'm sorry, Holden, that's the truth. I sat in my chambers after the call, staring at nothing. Quinlan was right about one thing. I was a different judge now. I questioned everything, reviewed every case personally, delayed sentencing if anything seemed uncertain. Some prosecutors complained I was too cautious, too slow. I didn't care. I'd seen what happened when judges didn't care enough. 7 dead children. I wasn't going to be responsible for number 8, even if I'd been number 8 myself. 1 year later, I still check on Everett every morning. Wake up at 6 a.m., walk down the hall, Open his door quietly. Watch him sleep for a moment. Make sure he's breathing. He's 18 now. Adults should have privacy. But I can't stop myself. My therapist says it's a normal trauma response, that it will fade over time. It's been a year. It hasn't faded. Before every sentencing hearing, I ask myself the same question. Is this person actually guilty? Then I review the evidence again, read the transcripts again, question the prosecutors again. If anything seems uncertain, I delay, order new investigations, request additional evidence. The other judges think I'm paranoid. The prosecutors think I'm obstructing justice. I don't care what they think. In the past year, I've identified 3 potentially wrongful convictions, ordered new trials for all 3. 2 defendants were acquitted when better evidence came to light. 1 was convicted again. He was actually guilty, but I'd rather be cautious than complicit. The system only works if someone questions it. Quinlan calls every 2 months. Always from a different country: Spain, Thailand, Argentina, Morocco, Brazil. FBI traces every call. By the time they arrive, he's already gone. His message is always the same: keep questioning, keep caring, keep being vigilant. I hate him for what he did to Everett, for what he did to those 7 children. But part of me understands his point. The system is broken. Judges do rubber stamp convictions. Innocent people do go to prison. I was one of those judges before Everett was taken. Now I'm different. But was terror the only way to change me? I don't know, and that uncertainty haunts me. Everett is in his 2nd semester at community college, criminal justice major, gets good grades, goes to class, but he still lives at home, still calls me 3 times a day, still has nightmares. Last week he told me he wants to become a defense attorney. Someone has to fight for the people who can't fight for themselves, he said. I told him I was proud of him, and I am. But I also know he wouldn't have chosen this path if Quinlan hadn't kidnapped him. His entire future was redirected by 6 hours of terror. At dinner tonight, Everett asked me the question he's asked a dozen times before. Dad, if you hadn't found proof, if it came down to 4 p.m. and you had nothing, what would you have done? I've always dodged the question, changed the subject, said I didn't know, but tonight I told him the truth. I'd already decided. I was going to issue the stay and recuse myself. Let another judge handle it. That would have violated Quinlan's rules. You would have died. Everett put down his fork. You chose justice over me. I chose to try to save both. I got lucky. The other 7 judges didn't get lucky. No, they didn't. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you regret it? He asked. Becoming a judge? I thought about it, really thought. No, because now I know what it means. It's not about power or prestige. It's about standing between the system and injustice. Someone has to care. Someone has to question. Someone has to fight, even when it costs everything. Especially then. Everett nodded slowly. That's why I want to be a defense attorney, because you showed me it matters. After dinner, I checked my watch. 7:53 p.m. Everett's curfew is 11 p.m. 3 hours and 7 minutes. I count the time automatically now. Can't stop myself. Every deadline, every appointment, every moment, always counting down. My therapist says this will fade too. I don't believe her, because I know the truth. I didn't succeed because I was better than the other 7 judges. I succeeded because Darius was actually innocent, because Corbin kept evidence, because he worked in my building. Pure luck. If one detail had been different, Everett would be dead. That knowledge never leaves me. 7 children died because 7 judges couldn't prove innocence. I saved Everett by proving innocence, but only because innocence was real. What happens the next time? When the defendant is guilty but the kidnapper thinks they're innocent? What happens when another judge faces Quinlan's deadline? I can't stop him, can't catch him, can't prevent it. All I can do is what I do every day: question everything, review every case, fight every injustice. Make those 7 deaths mean something, not because Quinlan taught me, but because I choose to care, every day, every case, every time, even when it costs everything. Everett looks up from his homework. Dad, you're staring again. I smile. Just grateful you're here. I'm grateful you saved that guy, Darius. I'm grateful I saved both of you. I check my watch again. 7:59 p.m. 3 hours 1 minute until curfew, still counting down. Always counting down, because someone must be vigilant, someone must care, someone must fight, even when the cost is everything, especially then. Subscribe for more interesting stories.